As I write this, it is almost springtime in North America, and we are almost upon morel hunting season. Morels are delicious and one of the safer mushrooms to forage, but there is one thing that you must be aware of if you go hunting for morels. To stay safe, you must learn to differentiate between real morels and forced morel mushrooms. False morels are closely related to true morels, as they are part of the same genus, Morchella. True morels tend to grow in the spring under hardwood trees, mainly ash and elms. False morels grow in the same areas, which means that if you're looking for true morels, there's a good chance that you will come across false morels in your search. At one time, false morels were considered edible. While many people have eaten false morels without suffering any ill effects, others have developed symptoms of mushroom poisoning. Cooking them removes the toxic nature in most species, but recent evidence indicates that there may be some long-term health risk with some false morel species. These risks are most closely associated with two species of false morels, Gyromitra esculenta and Gyromitra ambigua. Many mushroom hunters in Europe consider false morels to be outside of those two species once cooked. That said, unless you are an expert, it is best to avoid all false morels. If eaten raw, even true morels can cause minor stomach upset, so never eat any morel without cooking it first. Severe diarrhea, severe headaches, vomiting, nausea, extreme high levels of dizziness, and yes, even potential death are just a few known side effects. We advise you to leave the fake morel in its original location. We also recommend against feeding the fake morels to others, especially kids and pregnant women, even if you don't personally react to it. How to tell a difference between a morel versus false morel. If you are unfamiliar with morels, be sure to run your finds by an expert before eating them. The North American Mycological Association has local chapters across North America and is an excellent place to find people in your area who is knowledgeable about morel mushrooms. And always carry a good field guide when you are out looking for mushrooms this spring. We have a few of our favorite field guides in the description below. Our goal here is to provide you with a basic overview of the false morel and help you identify its distinctive identity and traits rather than to investigate it from a scientific standpoint. So without further ado, here are the 5 key differences between true morels and false morels. 1. Look at the texture of the caps. The most common characteristic of true morels is that it has deep pits and ridges in a honeycomb pattern that are grown inwards rather than bulging. False morels will have wavy, folded, or lobed caps and is never deeply pitted. They look like to be bulging outwards. The structure or makeup of the cap or head can sometimes resemble the brain, with folds that some might describe as wrinkles in the caps, and they are brittle to the touch. 2. Are the caps hollow? A true morel will be completely hollow inside, whereas a false morel will have cottony fibers or may even be completely solid. You can confirm by slicing it down the middle from top to bottom. You may wince at the thought of cutting your beautiful morels, but remember, slugs and other critters often crawl into the caps, so you must cut them in half to clean them out anyway. 3. Confirm that the stem connects at the bottom of the cap. Look at how the cap attaches to the stem. In a true morel, the stem will join at or near the bottom of the cap, whereas in false morels, the stem joins at the top. The false cap will look almost like a rumpled skirt hanging from the top of the stem, and it's got a free hanging cap. 4. Does it look symmetrical? A true morel will almost always have a nice symmetrical and uniform shape to it, whereas false morels have a wavy and uneven look. Bulges and folds will stick out, and the false morel may even look like someone stepped on it. 5. Make a spore print. While it may take longer, the surest way to tell a true morel from a false morel is to make a spore print. True morels have light, cream-colored spores, while false morels have dark, almost black spores. To make a spore print, remove the stem of the morel and place it cap-side down on a piece of paper. Put a bowl over it to keep any breeze from contaminating the sample. Leave the morel to release its spores for a few hours, and remove the bowl. Here's a detailed video on creating a spore print for identification purposes. If your mushroom is a true morel, you will see light-colored spores on the paper, and if it's a false morel, you'll see dark, peppery spores. Place half of the cap on dark paper and the other half on white paper for best results. This will ensure the highest contrast print for you to identify. Morel mushrooms are one of nature's culinary delights, and once you learn about the characteristics of false morels, it is easy to avoid the bad ones. If you follow the tips in this video, you will reduce the risk of mishaps. But remember, you always take risk when foraging for mushrooms. Be sure to show your morels to an experienced mushroom forager before eating them if you haven't been morel hunting before.